Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we'll talk about two pseudo columns called as row ID and row number. So pseudo columns are columns which you can apply for any table. They are not actually part of the table, but these are basically pseudo columns which is provided by the Oracle, right? The SQL. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about is a row number. So row number is basically a sequence number that you can generate and you can use it in a table. So for example, if I query this table, right, select start from reviews. So what I can do here is let me just select review ID, user ID, product ID and rating. So I can select these columns. Let me execute this. So now, if you look at this, right, I have the four columns. So you can actually use another column here, which is called as row number. So row number will basically give you the running sequence. Okay, so if I execute this, it will basically give you this running sequence. This is the only functionality of the row number. It will just give you the running sequence. So where you can use is something based on the requirement you can select. Okay, so for example, if I want just 10 records, right, the top 10 records, so I can put a where clause and say, hey, where row number is less than 11, right? It will give me the 10 records. So if I execute this, it will only give me the 10 records. See? It just has 10 records. So row number is primarily used for this to see like if you want to just select the first 10 records, you do some analysis and everything, you can use a row number and you can only use row number is like less than 11. So you cannot use something called as row number 11. So this is not possible. So you can, because this is the operation that you can use. You cannot use the row number equal to operations. Okay, so that is about the row number. So typically we use if you want to just select the first few records. All right, now the other pseudo column that I wanted to talk about is row ID. Okay, so row ID basically tells you the address of that record. See, every record, right? For example, this particular record, this record resides in your database, right? So basically, this record resides in the memory. So every memory has an address allocated to it. So whenever you store something, there is an address which is associated with it, which basically tells which part of the disk or where in the disk that data actually resides, right? So row ID provides you with that address. Okay, so if I execute this, so let me just remove this row number. Okay, we'll just use a row ID here. So row ID, right? So if you just execute this, so you can see here, right? So you will have the address and the address will remain the same. Okay, so you can do all this like any operations, but even if you make some changes, like if you modify this particular column or anything, so you have an address associated with this. Okay, so let's do one thing. So let's only take where rating equal to 1, and let's see like how many records we have here. All right. So we have a lot of records here. Okay, so let's check if there are any products, or let me just put per product. So let's use for product ID equal to 1. So let's say we have few records. Okay, so we have like 15 records here, right? So let's also say that we want to just limit the number of records again. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna say and user ID is equal to 2001. Okay, so let's say user ID. Okay, so I just have like three records, right? So you have the user ID, you have product ID, you have rating. Okay, so now assume that you want to delete something. Okay, let's say this is this row ID concept is primarily used to identify the address and kind of like do some DML operations or delete, right? So for example, let's say that you don't have this column and you only have this columns, right? So if you look at this, right, you all have the same data, right? So now if I want to delete something, right, so I can basically say delete from this table, right, where user ID is equal to 10 and product ID is equal to 1 and rating is equal to 1. So this, what it does, it will delete all these records, all the three records. But what if you just want to delete one record, right? So in that case, what you can do is you can just select any records and you can basically delete using a row ID. Okay, because the row ID is very unique. This row ID you will only find in one record, because which is this row. This row ID you will only find it for one record, which is this row, right? So using the row ID, which basically identify the exact row, and you can take an action on it. So let me just delete this. Before that, let me also what I'll do is, let me just see the review, add the other column as well. So review ID. All right. So let me add the review ID as well. So that is the way that we will identify, right? So let's say I want to delete this row, right? So I can say delete from reviews where row ID is equal to this one, right? So let me copy this. Okay. And I will execute this. See, only one row is deleted because there is only one row with this value address will be unique. And if I execute this again, so you will not see that record. See, only that record. So row ID is primarily used for identifying the exact row, and primarily we use it for delete only. Okay. So these are the two concepts that we use, row number and row ID. Row number is basically for selecting few records for sampling or doing some analysis. Row ID, on the other hand, is used to identify the particular row. So primarily used for deleting purpose. So row number for limiting and row ID for address. So simple concept. I hope that this was clear, and I'll see you guys in my next class.